We're going to be solving some equations today that have square roots and some other, actually more than one square root today. So it's going to get kind of crazy at the end. Remember that the first thing you need to do to solve any of these is to get the radical sign all by itself. So on this first one here, sorry. On the first one here, isolate this radical sign. So you might want to put a box around this radical sign. And to get that all alone, you're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So you end up with your square root of 2x minus 3, and then 8 minus 3 is 5. Remember, to get rid of a square root, you are going to square a baby 2 and a house, wipe each other out. Well, what you do to one side, you got to get over here and do to the other side. So I'm going to take that 5 and square it. Baby 2 and house, gone, gone, gone. So I get 2x minus 3. And over here, 5 squared is 25. And then this is an old box road problem. You can add 3, divide by 2. So I get 2x equals 28. Divide both sides through by 2, so x is going to be 14. Now, the best thing about these, you guys, is you can't get them wrong, because put that number back in. 14 times 2, 28, minus 3, 25. Square root of 25 is 5 plus 3 is 8, and it checks out. You should be checking every one of these to make sure that you have a right answer. All right, how about this one? I'm going to get that house all alone, so I'm going to put my big box around that. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So I get the square root of 4x plus 1 equals 5. I have to square both sides so that my square and baby 2 will wipe each other out. I get 4x plus 1. 5 squared is 25. Minus 1, divide by 4, so x is going to be 6. Check it. 6 times 4, 24, plus 1, 25. Square root of 25 minus 5 is 0, and it checks. All right, now you need to write down a little code here, because on these next, how many do I have here? 5 problems. You're going to want to make sure that you are that you're either going to have one answer or you might have 2 answers. Now, here's how the code works. If you have an odd denominator, which means that's the index, because the denominator is what the index is. So if you have an odd index, remember on 6-1, 6-2, when there were odd indexes or odd radical signs, you get one answer. You don't have to think. Very simple, boom, one answer. When you have an even denominator or an even index, you have to make sure that you're doing the plus or minus of that answer. Now, if you just put it in your calculator, it's only going to give you the positive. So you have to remember, when you have an even denominator or an even number inside the index, you need to plus or minus your answer. All right, so here we go. Let me change this for us. All right, so here's my first one. Now, they did not put this inside the house here, but they could have made this thing right here a radical sign, the cube root of x plus 1 squared. So it could have been written like that. Regardless, I have to get rid of this 3 first. And to get rid of this 3, since it's attached by multiplication, I'm going to divide both sides through by 3. So I get x plus 1 to the 2/3 equals 4. Now, remember, a power to a power, you multiply. What you want to happen is you want this to be gone, so that you can very easily box road and solve that. Well, to get rid of a 2/3 power, I have to raise it to the 3/2 power, because what's going to happen is a 2/3, the 2's cancel and the 3's cancel, leaving me with just my x plus 1, which is what I want. But you know the name of the game. If you do it to the left, you got to get over here and do it to the right. So that's why I need to put a 4 to the 3/2 power. Now, what that really means is the square root of 64. How the heck am I getting 64? That's 4 to the 3rd is 64. And you know, when you square root something, it has to be plus or minus the answer. So that's why I'm saying, when you have an even denominator or an even number inside your radical sign, you need to plus or minus your answer. Now, I got to finish solving this. Minus 1 from both sides. So my two answers are going to be 8 minus 1, which is 7, and negative 8 minus 1, here's my negative 8, which is negative 9. And as always, put them back in and check them and see if you get them right. When you put the 7 in, 7 plus 1 is 8. Use your calculator. Go 8 to the 2/3, times it by 3, and you get out 12. Same thing with negative 9. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. Put in negative 8 to the 2/3. Use your fraction key and use your parentheses. You get out 4 times 3 is 12. You can't go wrong on these guys. Check them. You can't miss them. Okay, how about this one? I've got kind of like a combo deal going on here. I've got stuff in front, I got stuff behind. Rules are basic, keep them the same. Put your box around the house. So, if you don't know how to get rid of your stuff here, treat that problem like this. Here's your box. What would you do first? I would subtract 1, which is going to give me a 24 over here. Divide by 3, so I'm down to, now I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to go x plus 1 to the 3/5 power. You see how I did that? 3, and then the 5 becomes a denominator. And over here you have an 8. Now, you're going to raise this power to the 5/3, because to get rid of a 3/5, you got to multiply it times its reciprocal. What you do to the left, you get over here and do to the right. So here I have an x plus 1. I'm not even going to use parentheses. And over here, since I have an odd denominator, I'm only going to have one answer. So put in your calculator 8 to the 5/3, and you're going to get out 32. That's the cube root of 8 to the 5th. Minus 1 from both sides, and my final answer is going to be 31. Put it back in and see if you're getting it right. 31 plus 1 is 32. 32 to the 3rd power is 27. Sorry, let me go back. 31 plus 1 is 2. 32 to the 3rd power is going to be 32,768. Take the 5th root of that, and you get 8 times 3 plus 1 is 25. Can't miss it. All right, second page of your notes. I've got 3 problems left to go here. 2 is going to be easy, 1's going to be easy, 2 might be kind of difficult. Here's the next one. Here's your house. A little bit of a review here. Here's your house, or here's your box. I'm going to get rid of the 2 by dividing both sides through by 2. I have x plus 3 to the 2/3 power equals 4. To get rid of a 2/3, you're going to times it by 3/2. Right there, that's an even number, so I got to think plus or minus. I get x plus 3 on the left. 4 to the 3/2 power is going to be 8. Don't forget plus or minus. To get your two answers, you're going to subtract 3. So I'm going to get 8 minus 3 is 5, and negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. You know what I'm going to say. Put them back in and check them and see if you're getting them right. Next one here looks a little bit, watch what's going to happen on this one. When you get your box up here and you want to get rid of this minus 5, you're going to add 5 to both sides. The problem is nothing is going to combine over here or wipe out over here. You're going to have an x plus 5, and I bet some of you are thinking, holy smokes. To get rid of the square root, you're going to square both sides. A baby 2 and a square root get rid of each other. What you do to one side, you get over here and do to the other side. So I have x plus 7 on the left. Over here, this is not x squared plus 25. That's x plus 5 times x plus 5, which FOIL, x squared plus 10x plus 25. To solve this, you got to get everything equal to 0. And I think the easiest thing would be to take your x over here, minus x, and minus 7. So I'm down to x squared plus 9x plus 18. How are you going to solve this, guys? You can g-solve root it, you can do the quadratic formula, you can factor it, you can complete the square. You've got lots of choices, so here we go. I'm going to try to factor. Plus plus goes to a plus plus. I've got an x and an x. Choices for 18, 9 and 2, 6 and 3, 18 and 1. My magical middle number is a 9, so I'm going to try 6 and 3. Out of my first set of parentheses comes a negative 6. Out of my second set of parentheses comes a negative 3. And on some of your homework, it's going to say check for extraneous solutions. What does that mean? You have to put them back in to see if they're right. Put the negative 6 in. Negative 6 plus 7 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Remember, we put a negative 6 in. Does negative 4 equal negative 6? This guy is going to be wrong. Let's try the negative 3. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. And what number did you put in? Negative 3. Check, check. Negative 3 is going to work. Okay, and the last one here is, now, you might be saying, how the heck, if I have two radical signs, do I put boxes around both of them and solve? Watch how this one works. I'm going to put my box around this guy right here, which means I'm going to add a square root of x to both sides. So I've got square root of 2x plus 1 equals 1 plus the square root of x. I'm going to baby 2 both sides, or square both sides, so that I get rid of at least my one house over here, 2x plus 1. Let's FOIL this. Are you ready? You're good. You can do this. I'm going to multiply 1 times 1, 1 times the square root of x, 1 times the square root of x, and square root of x times the square root of x is x. Think about that. Square root 2 times square root 2 is 2. Remember when you multiply two houses that are the same? Let's put stuff together. That's 1 plus 2 square root x plus x. Over here I have 2x plus 1. Now watch how this works. I'm going to combine like terms. So I'm going to subtract my x from both sides. So I get a 1x over here. So he's gone and he's gone. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, so my 1's are gone. So I have x equals 2 square root x. Now check this out. To get rid of this house, I'm going to square both sides again. It's completely legal if what you do to one side, you do to the other side. You haven't changed anything. So I get x squared over here. Now be careful. Baby 2 goes to both parts. So that's going to become 4x because it's 2 square root x times 2 square root x, which is 4x. How the heck are you going to solve this? Get everything equal to 0. So I'm going to have x squared minus 4x equals 0. Can you take anything out? You can't. You can use the quadratic formula if you want. You can graph this and hit g-solve root, or x squared minus 4x, I can take an x out, so I have x minus 4 left over. This guy is going to give me a 0. This guy is going to give me a 4, and you have to put them back in to see if they work. So if I put a 0 back in, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, square root of 1 is 1. That's going to be wiped out because it's a 0. 1 equals 1, check, the 0 works. How about the 4? 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. Remember, I put a 4 in. Square root of 4 is 2, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So in this time, they both checked. They both worked. Make sure you get some good practice on this stuff. These are going to be difficult if you just try to get yourself through it without doing the practice problems.